guys, I had my first spring market, and in this video I'm going to tell you all about how it went and show you videos of my booth before and after and tell you what sold and how much I made. So this was my first spring market, and I thought it was going to be pretty warm because a few days before this it was around 80 degrees, and then the day before this event was when the crazy wind happened. So if you're not in Oklahoma, you may not know about it, but there was a crazy windstorm in Oklahoma and it was insane. It was just like dust and sand everywhere and super high winds. I think it was like 50-mile-per-hour winds, like constantly. And so I was kind of worried that this market was going to be windy, and it was. It was definitely the windiest market that I've been at. Now, it wasn't anywhere close to as windy as the day before, thankfully, but it was still very windy. And with Oklahoma weather, it is always crazy. The temperatures are always going up and down, just depending on the day. So like I said, about 2 days previous, it was 80 degrees, and on this day it was super cold. So it may not have been as cold as it actually felt, but with so much wind going constantly, it really felt cold. And I originally was going to wear shorts. I'm so glad that I decided to wear sweats instead, but I was still cold and I only brought one jacket. Thankfully, my dad was there with me and he had a second jacket, so I wore that, but I was still so cold. I didn't do any crocheting during the market just because of how cold I was. So this event was at a store called Daisy Exchange. Now, I believe that this store is only in Oklahoma, but I could be completely wrong about that. But it's pretty much a clothing store where people can bring in their nice used clothes and trade it in for money, and then they sell those used clothes item for a lot cheaper than they originally were. So that is what the store is, and they were just pretty much letting us use their space in their parking lot and their yard to have the market. So they were doing a sale as well, so that was drawing people into the market also. So they had clothing items for $1, so all of the winter items that they wanted to get rid of before spring, they were having those on sale for only $1. And then the event was not organized by them, it was organized by someone else, but it was the first time that they had done an event at this location. So I wasn't really sure how many people would show up to it or how busy it would be, and I knew that it was the first time that they had an event there, so that there may not be a ton of traffic. It's one of those things where you just kind of decide either you try for it or you don't, and you just see what happens. So I decided to try it out and see how it went. Thankfully, the booth fee was only $30 for this one, which is very low for the area and what I would typically pay, but I believe they did that because they knew it was their first time at this space. So a lot of people actually did show up to shop, but I think that most people were there just to go to check out the $1 sale on the clothing, and a lot of people were just going inside the store and not necessarily shopping at the booths. And I think a big part of that was the weather. It was just super windy and super cold, and I think that people really just, once they got out of the car and felt how cold it was, they just wanted to go inside into the warmth. So I think that was a big part of it. But although it wasn't super busy, I did still make quite a few sales. So I'll go ahead and put in the video of my booth before the market. This is my booth before the market. Because it was so windy, I wasn't able to put everything out, and I wasn't able to put everything as high up as I usually would. I kind of wish that I would have got some more videos to show how windy it was, but I was just so cold and it was so windy that I really just didn't feel like filming at all. I didn't feel like doing much. I just wanted to sit there and try to stay warm. So I didn't really get any videos showing how windy it was, but it was crazy. I did end up doing my setup a little bit differently because of the wind. So I usually, when I put my cubes up, I do like 3 cubes high, and this time I only did 2 high because I was afraid that if I put the items in the top that they would blow off. And thankfully I didn't have too many items actually blowing off the table because I tried to keep everything down low and keep everything, you know, where it was not like too high or far to the edge. So I did have stuff rolling around on the table, but I didn't like lose anything onto the ground, which was honestly really surprising for how windy it was. And I mean, even my booth neighbor that was next to me, his tent almost blew away. And I mean, he had to wait on all four legs of the tent, and so he ended up having to take his tent down, and my dad helped him to hold it down and stuff while he was taking it down because it really almost blew away. I mean, it came like 2 feet off the ground and then he grabbed it. So it was crazy. So I'm very, very grateful that my items did not like blow away and get dirty. So I will go ahead and get into what I sold. So the first thing that I sold was actually to the owner's daughter. So the owner of the store came out to introduce themselves, and they had their kid with them, and she wanted to buy something from me. So she got an Octo, and this was one that was made with a green variegated yarn from Sweet Snuggles Light. So I don't use Sweet Snuggles very often, but I did for this one. So that is the one that sold, and that sold for $12. Now, sadly, that was the only thing that sold in the first hour. Like I said, it was just not a lot of people coming over to the booths. In the second hour, I sold 3 items. The first person bought 2 of my mini bunnies, and those sold for $16 total. They are $8 each. I didn't write down if these ones were the ones with safety eyes or with the embroidered eyes, so I'm not really sure, but they did go ahead and buy 2 of them. And then the next person bought a Pickle, and this one was also with the Sweet Snuggles Light. And the only thing that I do like using the Sweet Snuggles Light for, like really often, is for my pickles. And this is the last one that I have in that. I ran out of my Sweet Snuggles. So that is the last pickle that I have of that color, and I haven't decided yet if I want to buy more of that or just use the other greens that I have. But that pickle sold for $15. And then in the last hour, I sold a few more things. The next thing that I sold was a rainbow variegated bee, and that same person also bought a corn. And this was actually the vendor that was right next to me, and we were kind of talking a lot throughout the event, and he was very nice, and then at the end of the event he bought those for me, so I was super thankful for that. So those sold for $35 together. The bee was $15 and the corn was $20, which I think that might have been my last variegated rainbow bee, so I need to see if I can still find that same yarn to make some more, because bees are definitely big during the springtime, and I also like to have the rainbow ones during Pride Month as well. So hopefully I can find some more of that yarn. And then the last sale that I made was a family that came over, and they bought quite a bit of different items. So they got 2 stickers and a pin. So I believe both of the stickers were my Axolotl sticker, and then I'm not sure which pin it was. I think it was the Axolotl though. And then they also bought an Axolotl, and it was a pink one. And then they also got a sitting dino, and it was a variegated green. The stickers I sell for $3. The pins I sell for $2. The Axolotl was $20, and the sitting dino was $15. So the total was $43 for that last order. So I didn't make a ton during this market, but at least I did make, you know, more than my booth fee. And so it wasn't horrible, but I do definitely wish that the weather was better. And I think had the weather been better, that I would have sold some more items. But in total, I made $121, which if you take out the booth fee, which was $30, that means I only really profited like $90. And that of course isn't taking out the cost of the yarn or time making stuff. So it was not a great market for me, but it was okay, and I'm still glad that I did it. Another reason that I think maybe I didn't sell quite as much is that there were a couple other crochet vendors there. I want to say there's 15 to 20 booths total, and there were 2 other booths that were mainly crochet, and then there was one other that had a few crocheted plushies there. So So there were quite a few people selling the crocheted plushies, which that's something that I run across quite a bit at markets, especially smaller markets. They usually don't limit the amount of vendors with specific items, where when you go to a bigger market, usually they will try to limit, you know, down to 2 or 3 or a certain number of how many of each vendor can be there. Okay, so I will go ahead and put in my video of my booth after the market. This is my booth after the market, and it doesn't look super different from before, but it was just so windy. But while I was there at this event, someone came up to me and they were in charge of another market, and they invited me to do this market for free. So on their website it said that it was like $100 to do the market, but he said that he was inviting everyone at this market to come to it for free. So I did go ahead and sign up for that one, and so that will be my next market. It is this coming weekend, and I'm pretty excited about it. It's another one where it is like the first time doing this market, and it's at a new place, so not sure exactly how the turnout's going to be, but he did say that they were going to have news stations there, so it was going to be on the news. And it is the grand opening of a new dog park, which, if you know me, I love animals, I love dogs, so that is exciting to me. I definitely love going to the dog park, so I think that's really cool. I'll get to check out the brand new dog park. And then the event is about Canine Veterans Day. Since it's about the canine veterans, I am trying to make some dogs, and since it's at a dog park, I thought I'm going to try to make a few dogs before the market. But I only have a couple days left until the market, so we'll see. I think I might only end up getting 2 dogs made by then, but I definitely have a lot of cats, so maybe some people there will be cat lovers too. And of course I have a lot of other items also. So this market wasn't really my best market, but I was able to get into another market for free by going to this one. So that's exciting, and hopefully that one will turn out good. So if you want to make sure to see that next video, make sure you're subscribed and turn on the bell notification so you'll get notified whenever that video posts. And please give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and comment your favorite emoji below if you've watched all the way until the end. I just love seeing who watched my video all the way until the end. I really, really appreciate you, and I hope that you have a great day. Thanks for watching.